Okay, we're live.
Okay. Now ready?
We're ready.
Good.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, everyone.
Welcome to our Q&A today. I hope everybody's doing good, feeling good. We'll just jump right in. This is from Eric, and he says, you mentioned before that there was a planet in our solar system that once had human beings living on it, similar to Earth now. You mentioned it was destroyed. Do you know what happened? Do you know the details? How and why? Yeah, the planet we're talking about, it's called different names. Most in our system, we call it Maduk, something like that.
Marduk.
And it existed between Mars and Jupiter. And if you look at a map of the solar system, you'll see, the Sun, Venus, Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, and then Jupiter. But in between Mars and Jupiter, there's all these rocks forming a ring. And it's a belt. It follows the orbit. And it's smaller than planet size. So they're called asteroids. They're a big chunk of rocks. And these are the remnants of that planet that blew itself up. How it blew itself up, I presume it was something like Atlantis, where they misused powers. You see, on Earth or on any planet where human beings are, when mankind succumbs to the temptation of war, really succumbs and just lets it all go out, they usually end up exhausting themselves and stop, or they destroy each other. Sort of this mutual assured destruction. And that's what happened to the planet, and it was blown up. Well, what happened to the people? Well, they had to stay in the psychonoetical counterparts and continue on, even though they blew up their planet. But it's a great loss. And we don't need to know much more about it than that. Just that is what happens if you don't stop fighting. It happens that way as a personal relationship, in families, in communities, in nations, in the whole planet, So it's just a message for anyone left in the universe to realize you can't go down that path. And if you do, there's going to be really bad consequences. Now, what's the difference between that planet and our planet? It's kind of the same. We don't have quite the powerful weapons they did, I don't believe. But it's still the same thing, them versus us. When are we going to realize everybody's us? That's the goal, is to come out as, we're all humans. We all maybe think differently, say different words for different things, but we're human.
Yes.
We're one family. So when we start to get the attitude of all mankind's one family, we'll know we've passed that testing point. And all civilizations, all planetary civilizations, have to pass through this period of fighting and try to come out of that and go beyond that. And so that's where we stand poised now. Now, I will say that Daskalos did mention that there's a number of quite a few different extraterrestrial civilizations visiting the Earth, and he said they told him that Earth would not be allowed to blow itself up like this other planet did. So sooner or later, we're going to make it without destroying our planet.
Yes, Daniel explained most of them, but many planets and many civilizations destroyed by human beings by abusing the creative ether. So we have responsibility, and we have to restart the civilization again and again. We don't study this fact in the school, but we lost many precious planet and civilization by fighting each other, abusing the power of life. So each one of us has a responsibility to raise up our self-consciousness, how to use the divine power towards light. Let's go next.
Sarah's asking, I was just listening to one of your lessons about the etheric doubles, and you mentioned that there are some exercises to remember our dreams. I don't really remember dreams and would like to have some exercise to help with this current amnesia. Yeah, the first thing I would want to say to anybody who's interested in this is your intent. The intent is really very important. So you have to really want to bridge this gap between what's happening to you when you sleep and your body laying there on the bed. So the first thing is just the intent to do that. And there are lots of techniques about lucid dreaming and everything, like put a journal next to your bed and a pen. So if you have a dream, you can wake up and write it down. That's part of your intent. That's a good thing to do. That's part of your intent. But the specific exercises in this system have to do with the etheric part of the brain, the etheric double of our material body, but particularly where it centers in the brain. Because what happens is when we, as a self-awareness, leave our body in an out-of-body experience or in dream, we take with it everything except, we take with it a lot of the imprinted, aesthetic, and kinetic ethers with us. And so the body's laying on bed inactive, but it has the creative ether stays with it. That's what keeps the body alive while we're off on our journeys in these other worlds. The problem with it is that when we take that kinetic and aesthetic and imprinted ether with us, it's what's happening to us on the other side is not being registered back on the brain because the connections broke. So the exercises are, first of all, it's not going to work until you get really skillful with the etheric double, because you have to learn what the etheric double is. You have to learn what this etheric energy is. And particularly, you have to have some degree of awareness and a certain degree of mastery over the aesthetic, kinetic, and imprinted ether. That way, when you fall asleep, you leave the aesthetic ether in the material brain, at least a certain portion of it, so it can register what's happening to you on the other side. And how do you do this? It's like, how do you ride a bicycle? I mean, you have to just practice doing this. So first of all, you have to get a sense of what the aesthetic ether is. And the aesthetic ether is just feeling. So if you can feel your entire body, you're in touch with the aesthetic ether. If you can feel your toes, you're in touch with the aesthetic ether, but also you're in touch with the kinetic ether because you move down to your toes. So as you fall asleep, once you get a sense of feeling this ether and knowing how it works and doing the exercises we give, you'll get some skill with it. So then as you start to fall asleep, you don't just, everything goes. You leave a little bit. So it's sort of like you split your awareness a little bit and maintain that of the body as you transition out of your body into sleep. I know it's probably doesn't help much, but that is what it is. So the first step is your intention. Second step is get in touch with the aesthetic ethers using these practices and meditations that Aki's giving. And then you can start to choose to leave some of it behind so it can record the impressions that you're having on the other side.
Daniel explained about a practical part, but I would suggest that, to do the introspection exercise right before you sleep, just for 15 minutes to review whole day of today, like a videotape. Please try this exercise right before you sleep. Then please see what's going to happen. Probably most of people will see and will remember more than before about the contents of what we experienced in the other world. So from today, please try introspection exercise every day, continuously. That's going to help to remember your dream, what we call dream. Actually, it's experience in the other dimension. And we will know, he explained about the functions of ethers, but why we will know why introspection exercise will help to work on these issues later when we go deeper, when we study deeper this teaching. And not only the introspection exercise, I also recommend you to be in the present moment during we are, living and living in this dimension in the daytime. Be in the present moment and observe, live consciously, I mean. And in the other word, be aware yourself each moment. Then you observe every moment. Of course, we have many things to do in our daily life, but try your best to be in the present moment and be the good observer each moment. When we get used to this kind of way of living, then we can continue this state in the other world when we sleep or even after our material death. Daskaru said, in this world is also we are like dreaming. We will know the meaning of it. So we call the experience in the other dimension as dream. But when we go deeper, this experience in this world is also dream. So in a sense, we all are, most of us, amnesia, forgetting what we are.
Bo's asking a good question. I've heard you say it's good to ask yourself when meditating, or any other activities, I suppose, who's meditating? I wonder if you imply that one should find an explicit answer to this question in terms of my personal ego, my soul self, or my spirit self, as the case may be. Or is it a question perhaps just a device to bring yourself into a more self-aware state? The answer is yes, to all those. See, the problem we have right now is that we're on this big search, this big journey to find this self of ours, this true self, inner self, high self, whatever you want to call it. The problem is our lower self and higher self in our minds are kind of mixed together. We don't really understand the difference because primarily we have been identifying our personality, our feelings, emotions, desires, and our behaviors that the personality does with ourself. Those are not ourselves. They're ours, they're our expressions, but they're not ourself. So to ask yourself who's meditating, you're trying to separate. You're trying to understand. Sometimes the answer will be, well, it's my personality is trying to meditate. And that's about as effective as trying to fall asleep. It's really hard from the personality to create the meditation. But you'll notice when you're in meditation, you'll have this meditation. All of a sudden, that little personality self gets real quiet and you start to sense something higher in you. Mm-hmm. Now, this is the point of it all, to ask yourself, well, who's doing it? Well, perhaps the personality has surrendered, has become still enough that the inner self takes over the meditation for you. And that's what we're really aiming at. We want to meditate as the inner self. That's the highest we can do. So, but it does bring us into a more self-aware state. But you could get a very explicit answer, or it could be just a knowingness. Really, it's going to more likely be a knowingness when you reach that stage of who's meditating as the inner self. Okay.
Mm-hmm. We have many aims to do the practice, meditation, exercise in this system. But what we are doing ultimately is to master or achieve the nature of God. God contemplates and create whole universes. So in our visualization exercise, we visualize something. And we do the exercise, of course, with our present day personality. And all level, as he said, all level of self-awareness. So starting with present day personality, slowly, we, of course, always we do exercise with our present day personality. But slowly, we will ascend the level of the degree of our self-awareness higher and higher. And we'll realize, eventually we will realize, oh, who am I doing this exercise? You will be completely observer of whole things in your meditation. So when we explain who is doing exercise, both present day personality, and until to reach to the permanent personality, so self and so self awareness. And so all through I-ness, self-awareness, we are doing our exercise. And you will be amazed when you go deeper and deeper into your exercise. When you continuously work on exercise sincerely, then it will happen. And you will be amazed by an observer of which you create the vision.
Good.
Let's go next.
Laura's asking, can you describe the journey of learning how to have attention without tension in our exercises? What she's referring to is Vasquez is always saying when we meditate, we have to have concentration. What's concentration? Attention without tension. So you're asking how to describe that part. You have to focus without making any effort. Have you ever done that? Have you ever tried to focus without making an effort to focus? Again, words fall short of trying to explain this, but you just try it. First of all, you have to still your mind. You can't be struggling with your mind or bombarded by thoughts and feelings coming up from the subconsciousness. So first of all, you have to silence that. You close the door to that and sit there, and without really trying, again, it's like trying to fall asleep, trying to meditate. You want to just put your attention on it, but make no effort. And what this does is keep your head center really, really open. When you concentrate, sometimes if you over concentrate, you're basically just densifying everything, and that's not what we want. We want it open in spaces so you can receive intuitions, you can pick up other higher vibrations. So try to do it without making any effort. That's the first part. And
may I?
Well, she has.
Yes, she has two questions.
Well, she has more than that, but
do you want to?
I want to do them all, then you do them.
Okay.
Okay. How we've experienced this process over time. Well, in the beginning, you make effort because we're taught to be successful in the world. We have to make a strong effort. To do anything, we have to make the strong effort. Well, this is not the way it works in spirituality and in inner plane stuff anyway. When you're going deep in meditation, you have to stop all that trying, give up trying, and do. And she's asking about working with setbacks, inner and outer, at this time, and the most successful ways to pull oneself out of ruts. So when we look at things from a dualistic standpoint, there's wins and losses, gains and losses. So these setbacks can be, oh, that's bad, that's a setback. Oh, that's good, that's an event. So we don't want that. We want one picture. We want one mind. Okay, yes, there are times where you get what we call setbacks and times where you get advancements. But don't get discouraged by the setbacks. Don't go chasing after the advancements too hard. Stay centered, stay in the middle, and realize that even in the setbacks, it's exactly what you need. It's exactly what we need, because most people try to get high spiritually by doing something to get up. They never think about dropping the sandbags that are holding them back. So in a time of setback, you get to see your sandbags. You get to see those things that are really holding you down. And you want to maybe some people just don't want to think they have them. They just want to push them away and concentrate on the beautiful divine light. You won't get very far because your legs are tied down to these life lessons. So the setbacks are showing you your life lessons. And that's where you got to really introspect and look in there and see where you're caught by that setback, or how did that setback, what caught you that made you have the setback? I'll say it that way. Something like that.
Okay. So I'll go back to her, Lola's first question. Yes, we use this significant word, attention without tension. This is a very key word. In my meditation, in our meditation, we often say, relax completely. What does it mean? Relax all our three bodies. First, let go of our tension in our material body. And the next, let go of all emotions. And then next, let go of all thoughts. So we have to relax completely all three bodies. Then tension is the tension, right? So emotion and thought is the tension of the psychical body and the noetical body. So we have to release all tensions of all our three bodies. Then, if we do that, we can create a condition of observation, which is the nature of God. Please try just for 1 minute, even from now. Just stop all your thought immediately. Stop all your thought, emotion, and be in the present moment. Then, immediately, you notice yourself, be an observer, right? I'm talking, then so I'm thinking something, but you are an observer in here. So this is the condition which we need to create in our exercise. But we need to hold only one thought, which is to do this exercise. That's why guided meditation is so beneficial. Someone narrate what to do next. You just follow the procedure, what to do. Getting rid of all other things and just be the observer of what you are visualizing. Then, if we continue this process patiently and sincerely, then one day the vision which we create start to move. And once we are getting used to being an observer, then we will start to hear the guardian angel's voice or message or whatever. So to be the state or to become the state of observer is so important. So this is the state, attention without attention. And next, her question is, oh yes, I have an advice. As I said in the answer in the first question, be in the present moment. Whatever, we make mistakes. That's human being. We all make mistakes. So when we make mistake, even we made the same mistake, even if we made the same mistake 3 seconds ago, we are in the present moment. Then let's focus on this moment and try to create a better self at this moment, again and again and again, without looking back or without thinking or reflecting deeply. No, when we made a mistake, we notice it, then let it go and try to create a better self again and again. This is my advice. Know that.
Okay, Keith is asking about feng shui.
Feng shui.
How do you say it? How do you say it in Japan?
In Japanese, we call it fusui.
I won't do that.
As we use the same Chinese letter, but
Uh-huh.
in English,
Feng shui.
Feng shui.
So, how much
Sounds
importance should we give to arranging our living spaces? Feng shui has to do with about arranging your living spaces to be in harmony, according to the feng shui teachings. Is it perhaps a matter of binding oneself to a set of rules from another system of practice? Could this interfere with the healing path set forth in general by Daskalos and Joshua? And even specifically in this personality's case, via burning of incense. How much blending of traditions is too much, or how much is it a matter of personal conscience? So there is something to that. There's a lot to that. I've designed and built a lot of architecture, and I have found that you can absolutely have a tremendous impact on people. Those who've come here notice that when you come through the doors are kind of short and small, but then it opens up into this big area. That creates that feeling. That helps the person open up and expand. It has an effect on them. If you would build a house, most houses in America, the ceilings are at 8 foot. If you build a house and make that ceiling 7'4", the people in it will feel super uncomfortable because they'll feel they're being pushed down because they're used to a certain space above their head. So definitely it has an effect on you. Frank Lloyd Wright, one of the greatest architects in America, said he could design a house that would force the couple living in it to get a divorce within the first year. So definitely there's an effect on it. But it's nothing compared to the effect of what's going on in your heart. You can feng shui the heck out of your house, but if you're jealous and angry, it's not going to help you that much. That's why Daskalos never spoke too much about these other things, because the influence is there, but they're small compared to the influence of our own elementals. So that's where he put the focus. Let's fix that. Sure, feng shui your house and make if you feel comfortable with it. It has to do also with not only some external set of rules created by feng shui or whatever, by the teachings of feng shui, but also how it works for you, how it feels to you. So I would go with the effect of your living space on you more than something I read in a book, for example. And blending of traditions, it's not really a good idea to blend traditions. We can do like because then you make like a goulash. If I put chili together with bean soup and corn chowder, it's not so good, But by themselves, they're good.
Might be good.
Might be good. I don't know. So, yeah, and it's just if you like burning incense, burn incense. They burn incense in all traditions, so that's not a problem at all. But we don't want to just like pick and choose. Oh, I'll have this from this teaching and this from this religion and this from this, and then we make kind of a goulash thing, and it doesn't come out so good. It's better to stay on the pure, to try to follow the pure essence of the thing, but pay so much attention to the effect it has on you, because somebody's going to come to you, oh, I found this teaching, it's marvelous, it's great, and you go try it, and I don't feel anything. So it's really about the effect on you, what really works for you.
He said very good word. Pure essence of any system or the practice of any system is important to absorb. Pure essence of any practice of any system is so important. I think so. And then direction is so important. For direction, travel directions, so important because it's relating to the creation of the universes. We will study it later. But to be being bound by certain concept or teaching is a little bit, how can I say, why don't you just absorb the good essence, pure essence of when
Feng shui.
when say it please.
That's it.
Mention. Yes, or any system, and take it to your daily life for you, your for your present day personality to express happier, better self. This works, and this teaching system, I believe, nothing interfere with Christ and Daskaros's teaching, and this teaching never bind something, never bind anyone or anything. This teaching will set us free, express free. So please take any good essence from any system to make your present day personality's life better and happier. Just a second. I might have another things. Yes, incense is good. Incense represents the element air. So placing some element air, the incense, and the water, fire, and the earth on your altar is good to balance all elements. Of course, we know we have fifth element. We are studying on that, but it's good to have it on your altar. That's all.
Okay. This next one is from our Brazilian brother, Gustavo. Hey guys, one night I became lucid in my sleep and I saw myself in a beautiful room, still lucid. I saw a door opening up. I remembered you guys' advice to wait for the angels before venturing into the psychonoetical worlds, being in my shell or not. I blocked the experience and then went to sleep. Comments? Am I being too controlling? Well, let's just look at that. Wait for your angels. I mean, it's not like your angels are off having a coffee and you got to wait for them to come back. They're always with you, but we're not always connected with them. They're always there. So that piece of advice is more like, make sure you're connected before venturing off. Just don't run off disconnected. But you don't have to wait for them. They're ready for you. They're waiting on you, actually. So, yeah, I think you could have trusted that and gone into it, but really, again, try to make sure you're connected with your inner self, your guardian angels, anything higher. Even ask for protection from God, Christ, Daskalos, whatever. But so you don't feel like you're just alone. You're going with a connection. Then it becomes safer for you. Yes, go ahead. Mm-hmm.
I understand this way, Gustavo. And Daskalos said to travel in the psychical world, to go in our solar plexus, unless we clean up our subconsciousness, this trouble, this experience, gonna be nightmare.
Could be.
Yes, unless that's why most of the people don't remember dream, what we call dream, well, right? We forget, right? The scripture says it's the mercy of God, because most of the people need to work on to cleanse our subconsciousness. So I remember maybe Gustavo, I don't know, you might have some kind of unfavorable experience before, or might have one before. So I presume, I sense actually, that's the message from your guardian angel. And he just project the fear over us and tell you, wait for the angel, which means your guardian angel, to travel into the psychical world safely, which means work on cleansing your own subconsciousness and have good experience in there. for that purpose. So that's not us, I guess. But your guardian angel, so I just laughed a little bit because it's a message from your guardian angel and he's waiting for you.
She brings up a good point about the solar plexus. It's in the Bible. In the old days, it was prohibited to go out of your body through the solar plexus for the reason Aki just mentioned. Now there are monks on Mount Athos, very famous now, and these guys go out of their solar plexus. And Dascalos has explained to us it's okay for them because they sit in the monastery and do prayers all along, so they're purifying their subconsciousness. But if we haven't purified our subconsciousness, we can have nightmares. And definitely, when you go to sleep at night, don't ever concentrate on your solar plexus unless you're purified, because you can, and you often will have bad nightmare. And the trouble is, some of them you get stuck in, it's hard to get out. So does that door, the door from your solar plexus to the psychical plane, from your heart, from your head, it's a matter of where we go out, because these are, levels of vibration, remember? So it's matters of where we go out.
That's right.
Now, where do you think Dascalos left his body from? Where do you think he liked to leave his body from? His heart, his head? What do you think? He said from every particle of his body. So he just went out from every particle, because every particle of your body is an etheric door, is an etheric center that connects to the psychonoetic world.
So cleanse first and have a nice travel with your guardian angel.
Christine is asking about feeling our etheric hands. I feel such an intense tingling and heat in my material hands when I do our etheric exercises. How does one discern the difference between feeling our etheric hands and our natural hands? I want so dearly to feel my etheric hands, but I keep feeling sensations in my material hands. How does one feel only their etheric hands? Well, those sensations, you are feeling your etheric hands. We think we're feeling in the material body, but it's really through the etheric double we're feeling. So when you feel your hands tingle or get heavy or start to feel hot or anything like that, you're sensing the etheric double the etheric energy in your etheric double. So you're already doing it. Now, we train with these to be able to lift those etheric hands. Aki's done many of these out of the material hands and use them as separate hands. This is something different. Then you can feel this etheric hand away from your material hand. But anytime you're feeling your body, you're feeling it through the etheric. So it's always happening.
The first question, your first question, how does one discern the difference between feeling the etheric hand and our material hand? Yes. Oh, please just say in your exercise, detach your etheric hand. We do many times, detach your etheric elemental of your etheric hand. Now, detach the elemental of your etheric hand from your material body and go back and repeat. Even in esoteric practice, we have the exercise, raise up and go back, not this exercise, right? And compare the feeling just with your material body, with your real etheric double, and the elemental of your etheric hand. So just compare by repeating this process. And I have something.
Okay.
Tingling vibration. Yes, this is very important. A tingling vibration. When we continue this, feeling, when we keep feeling the tingling vibration, this tingling vibration becomes heat or vice versa. So tingling feeling and the heat is very important. This is etheric vitality. It's life energy. So when you feel them, please understand you are handling life energy, etheric vitality. And last thing, you ask, how does one feel only the etheric hand? Yes. In our exercise, I repeatedly say, after creating the elemental of our etheric hand, feel being there. Just watch out this word. When we say, feel being there, means put your all self-awareness and consciousness in the hand. Then you can feel only the etheric hand. Please try it. Feel being there. Feel being in the etheric hand. Then you can feel only the etheric hand.
Next question is from Greg from Australia. I hope you guys are all doing well in Australia. I hear there's lots going on there. The question is, do you know if there were numerous waves of incarnation or if they were all in the physical form of hermaphrodites? And did they come from Pleiades, Orion, and even worlds beyond our solar system? Yeah. The way Dascalos describes it is every planet that becomes home to a life stream, human beings, are specific to that planet. It's almost as if there's a certain number of spirit beings destined to become humanized and come and evolve on a certain planet. And this goes on for ages. They just keep coming back to the same planet. They didn't come from other planets. Those planets have their own life stream, that have their own evolutionary path. Not that they didn't visit here, but they don't really incarnate here. Somebody asked Dascalos this question once when I was there. And he said, Earth is like a kindergarten. The other planets are like kindergarten. When you graduate from kindergarten, you don't go to another kindergarten. You go to a higher dimension. You don't just go to another place in the same physical dimension. So somebody from the Orion constellation living on a planet wouldn't come here to continue their evolution. They do it on the planet they were assigned to. And this is the primal force about all this. It's the primal plan of all these planets in evolution. However, they do come here, but they don't have to come. This is some really funny notion too that you see on the internet, that these aliens come, they incarnate through human women, and then they grow and they evolve. No, when they come, they don't need to be born as a little child and learn to walk again. These guys are self-realized masters. They are masters, Dascalos says, of materialization. They can make a materialization of any form they want. And when they come to Earth, they like to take the human form. In fact, coming to Earth forces them to follow the law of this planet. So they have to manifest according to the law of this planet. Even archangels that come and incarnate on this planet are bound by the laws. They can't break the laws, even if they're an archangelic being who's chosen an incarnation for something perfect, specific. So it's not like waves and waves. But now on this planet, it's not waves, it's one thing. But how long have we been here? How many incarnations? You can imagine how many incarnations human beings have had on this planet. Yet there are some that are incarnated on the planet right now that are in their early first few incarnations. Now, these are some unknown jungle tribe that you don't know, right? They don't know about us, and we don't know about them maybe. Or maybe we know about them, but we know very little. But every being who incarnates has to pass through 5 levels of consciousness. And the first level of consciousness is instinctual. And that's what these primitive tribes in the jungle someplace. They're just instinctual consciousness. They're living. But the experiences of living instinctually start to wake you up. You know, a tiger's chasing, you have to start to use your mind to figure out how to get away from a tiger, protect yourself, or find food. So the person is constantly developing their mind, and pretty soon, well, not pretty soon, a long time, they'll pass into the phase of consciousness called the subconsciousness phase. And most of the people on earth are in the subconscious phase. And then there's the awakening conscious phase, which has many, many, many levels. And there's the super consciousness phase that has many, many levels. And when you complete the final super consciousness phase, the highest level of it, immediately self-super consciousness is bestowed upon you. This is the Christ consciousness. This is self-realization, the ultimate enlightenment. So it's like that. Yep.
You want to say anything? Yep. Or what you wanted to say? Okay. The number of spirit soul which is assigned to this planet is from at the beginning. At the beginning of the creation of this planet Earth, it's already decided. So number is same, but the population of the spirit soul, how can I say, they are waiting and they are, sorry, no. Did I disturb?
No.
Okay. The number of spirit soul is fixed, the same number, but they are waiting in a psychonoetical planes. And then the more number of spirit soul incarnate on this in this dimension, then the number of the psychonoetical world is reduced, and they go like this. So it doesn't come from other planetary system. Even the spirit soul who has the mission to help the development of the self-consciousness of this planet is already assigned from at the beginning of this planet, history of this planet. So number is the same. And ETs, they use the soul from the other planetary system or the galaxy, whatever. They are self-realized being, otherwise they can't come to our planet. Then they use a higher noetical body, which is hermaphrodite. But they don't need to incarnate, or they don't need to, have the body, because once they are self-realized being, they can materialize. Once they create elemental, their body immediately materialize and manifest in this dimension. Like this way, higher beings in the ET, what we call ETs, are involving our way of our daily life in this dimension.
Linda's asking a question. I'm not sure I've understood this correctly, but the teachings seem to say we have a psychical body and a noetical body that are more like simply a form. And then we have our psychonoetical body also, which we have to build and cleanse. How do these bodies coincide? Is it similar to the way our material body is a form and our personality kind of resides in it? Is the personality the same as the psychonoetical body? More importantly, how do we work on building a perfect psychonoetical body? Is that what we're doing through introspection and cleaning up our emotions and behaviors, etc.? Yeah, this is a good question, and you've asked good sub-questions. Let me go back to the first part of it. Okay. As a soul, spirit soul, we project one ray of that spirit soul down into the worlds of existence, into creation, where it's dressed in a noetical body, a psychical body, and finally a material body. So these three bodies coexist together and are intermingled without mixing up because they're different vibrational rates. So you can't have a material body that doesn't have a psychical body or a noetical body. But now when we call it the psychonoetical body, it's a way of talking about both bodies because they're not apart. We talk about them separately so we can understand them better, but they are never apart. So when our material body dies, we still have the psychonoetical bodies together. And when the psychical body, we can call it dies, but we've finished the use of it, it dissolves, and we exist only in our noetical body for a time. And when we're done with that, then we return to the noetic state. That's one incarnation. So, yes, the psychonoetical body is the same as the personality, because what is the psychonoetical body? It's the emotional and mental body. So our psychonoetical body is the body of our emotions, the body of our thoughts. How do we work on building a perfect one? Well, see, I just want to make this point clear because it's important. We have this perfect psychonoetical body as an archetype, which is held by our guardian angel. It's the heavenly man. It's the blueprint we are trying to make ourselves into, or to purify ourselves to be. I mean, well, we already are it, but we have to clean up all this other stuff until it matches. That's what we mean by shaping the psychonoetical body. We're just throwing out these ugly emotions and low-level thoughts and all the stuff that doesn't look like the archetype. It's kind of like Michelangelo, and they said, well, how do you carve these statues? He says, well, if I want to carve an elephant, I just take a big rock and I carve away everything that doesn't look like an elephant. Well, that's what we're doing. We're trying to get rid of everything that doesn't look like the pure God that we are. And then that pure God radiates through the expression of the personality. And that's what we're doing through the introspection and all the other practices.
Yes. Done?
Yeah.
Okay. We have three bodies, right? Material bodies. Each person has a different appearance. Each person has a slight, pretty much different appearance. But all human beings, material body, I'm talking about material body. 2 eyes, 1 nose, 1 mouth, and 2 ears. Most of the people has kind of same figure. But because it's the material body is made by the archetype of by the holy type of a human being as it is. So we have a slight difference, we have slight difference in each person, but mostly we are alike because it's made by the archetypal idea of the material body. Likewise, we originally have the perfect shape of the psychical body and the noetical body. But from at the beginning, we start with like a sphere. But after first incarnation, it becomes the amorphous psychonoetical body, which is what we call personality, present day personality. And then in each incarnation, we have to shape this amorphous psychonoetical body, which we call present day personality, into the perfect shape. And when we don't know how long it's gonna take, how many incarnations, how many hundreds or thousands incarnations we need. It depends on person. But when we reach to the perfect shape, archetypal idea of a human being, then this state is called self-realization. So answering to your next question is that what we are doing through introspection, cleaning up our emotion, thoughts and behaviors? Yes, 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 yes. So by introspecting on our emotion, thought, behavior, we reshape this amorphous present day personality. We can see it with our material eyes, but we are definitely reshaping it by doing this exercise. So please have courage to continue to reshape your psychonoetical body into the perfect one. And yes, and also not only introspection exercise, to do goodness, kindness in our daily life is also reshaping our present day personality. That helps a lot.
Okay. Jacqueline's asking a question. Can you give some insight into the current threat of another war being played out in Europe? So many of us work so hard at raising our own vibrations and sending out the vibrations of peace for the world. How much can or do, if at all, the archangels, ascended master God, help humanity as we sit right now on this precipice? What I can tell you about it, I think we have to be so careful on listening to what mainstream media is doing, what they're saying to us, because there's always this fear. They have created this fear-induced reality about everything, and the people are just running here and there, thinking, "Oh." But I do not believe that this thing that's happening in the Ukraine is exactly what else has been, and for sure. Well, I'll just say this. The United Nations all of a sudden recently announced the Ukrainians never declared their border. They never registered the border with the UN or something. They've never declared their exact border, even though we have pictures on a map of what the border looks like and all that. And this Ukrainian state was really helped set up by the United States CIA when it tried to withdraw from Russia. So in some regards, could be seen as, well, I won't go there, but I will say this. The Ukraine is a stronghold of the Caesarean mafia, and they are deeply involved with human trafficking. So in some ways, we might look at this as Russia just cleaning its own body. The way I understand it, what I have found, is that they're trying to get rid of certain factors in the Ukraine which are causing trouble. So it's a little bit like cleaning us. It's just like the country's trying to do its own thing. I do not believe it's going to go into a world war at all. And the question about how much the archangels or ascended masters help humanity, they help so much. They're praying. They're constantly praying and offering help, but they can't force it on. We have free will. They would never violate our free will. So we have to think, oh, these are influences on us. But then there's these other ungodly influences on people, trying to get them to kill each other and cause problems in the world. So it's a matter of which one the human being listens to, and which one they listen to is the one they're going to believe. And of course, whatever they believe and whatever they do because of it will create a consequence that will sooner or later help them wake up to the truth of that. And also, what question does the guardian angel, the leaders bringing this aggression onto our world, do the guardian angels just try to give loving and guidance and not interfere with the choices made by that individual? Even if the impact could be so great to the peace of humanity at this time. Is it just another karmic lesson played out for that individual and for the rest of us? Yeah, like I said, they will not interfere with the choices we make. I mean, to a point. There are limits, but they're big. We can do a lot to each other. We do horrible things to humanity, and they don't interfere because we have to learn the lesson not to do horrible things. So the consequences of doing horrible things is designed to help uplift our awareness to a higher state so we don't do it again. So I wouldn't fear that this thing is out of control or anything like that. I would just pray, because that's all we can do with a lot of these things causing problems. We as little individuals don't have much, but we can always watch and pray and send our influences out, that there be peace, there'll be reason in the leaders' minds.
That's important.
So
I agree. Yes. As Daniel explained before, we have 5 levels of consciousness and the development of the consciousness. And our planet still, and the second, most of people, and the level of the second stage. No, that's why we are still fighting. We are still having war. We are still trying to steal. No, some people, not everyone. But some people trying to make a war or fight each other. But some people like you, who is asking the question, Jacqueline, you are trying to help this planet, gathering people, make a prayer. Some people are doing this effort. What do you think? Why no human beings are doing and acting different way? Because in this dimension, not in the other dimension, in this third dimension, all different development stage of self-awareness, the people of the different with the different development of the self-awareness and the consciousness are living together and learning each other under the perfect divine plan. So, guardian angel, oh yes, that's natural to think, oh, what's going on there, guardian angel? The people, the guardian angel of the people who are trying to fight each other. What's going on? We feel way, but please think about it. The guardian angel is those beings are connected as one. So they know what's going on. I'm talking about the higher states. They are one, which means we are taking a vow to learn each other under the perfect plan, as I said. So, Jacqueline, it's so precious and important, especially now, accumulating people and make a prayer for a certain district or country or entire planet. Make a prayer, peace prayer for our planet or whatever. This action is so important. And
sorry.
yes. So please keep please keep doing your effort. I would like to in this teaching system we have a beautiful prayer. So I would like, it's a short prayer. I would like to narrate it for you. So please keep it. It's called a prayer for unjust. Prayer for unjust. Let me recite it. Prayer for unjust. Lord, help us to forgive those who were unjust with us and forgive them too. Show mercy to their children so they don't have to pay the debt of their parents. Help me, the unjust, to pay with a soft coin of goodness, and not with a hard coin of pain for their foolishness. Give them, my Lord, the chance to change, and give patience to us. Give justice to all of us. Thy will be done, my Lord. Amen. It is a beautiful prayer, so please go deep into the meaning, penetrate into the meaning of it, and make a prayer for this planet, peace for this planet.
Osaka von Karman is asking about something called the Invisible Counselor Technique by Napoleon Hill, author of the famous book Think and Grow Rich. He tells of a technique used to get advice by imagining famous people in history as part of his cabinet. Eventually, he says that these so-called imaginary advisors took on a life of their own and would display their own unique personalities and emotions, and even tell him things that he could not know. Now I understand through Daskalos's teachings that all these are his elementals that he created. Correct. However, do these elementals have any connection to the real people that actually existed? Or are they completely created out of his imagination? It's both. We're doing this all the time. We create replicas, we call them identicals, we create elementals of the people we know. And we dress them in what we know about them, what we feel about them, what we think about them, what we've observed about them. We create that. So it's like we're dressing it, but the actual life of the thing itself comes from the real person. But it's not like that real person's going to know what you're doing. Just think about it. Everybody's doing this with everybody all the time. How many people know about Queen Elizabeth? Well, every one of those people have created this. Let's call them identicals. I like that. Identicals. They're identical things of them. However, they only have so much of that person in them based on what the other person knows. Now, what the other person knows is subjective representation of them. And let me give you an example of this. If you know somebody for a long time, you're a good friend, but you haven't seen them in about 10 years, when you think about them, you're going to remember everything you knew about them and all the stuff that's already come forward. But in that time, they could have died. They could have won the lottery. You would never know that kind of stuff because you didn't get it. You weren't there to register that. So your creation of that elemental is obviously not complete, and it's certainly not totally accurate. Now, one time there was a student, and he was talking with Daskalos privately, and Daskalos was explaining about how, when we go to the psychonoetical worlds, all the people we care about are there. Well, how are they there? And he said, well, we create an elemental of them. The guy goes, it's just an elemental of them? And Daskalos says, do you think you're with me now? Or are you with the elemental you created of me? And that's the big point. Everybody creates this elemental of each other. We give meaning not only to everybody, but to everything that's happening. We're the ones that's giving the meaning. Don't think there's this intrinsic meaning that's coming through to us. We're having this experience and we ascribe meanings to everything. Valuable, not so valuable, completely bad, whatever. Somebody else is going to describe a different set of meanings and values to it. Same things, same people. So you can't say they're completely out of this imagination because maybe this person's Napoleon Hill has read about some Socrates, and so he's read something, so he knows something he's read about Socrates. So his elemental of Socrates contain those things he already knows. It's like that.
Thank you. Yes, it's identical. When we visualize, when we think of someone, create elemental of someone, that elemental is energized by the spirit soul of the person who we make the model of that person. So in this sense, yes, it's going to be connected. And what we have to, that's why what we have to be careful is who we are. We create who, what people we are going to create as our elemental. I don't know this book or I don't know this system, but we have to be watch out what kind of a person we created and connected energetically. Because once we created the person's elemental, the energy, the vibrating together with that the model is also influence to our energy field. So please, we have to be careful to create who we will create.
After the death of this physical body, Jacqueline's asking this one, does the soul get to reach the noetic state before reincarnating? Yes, but not immediately. It's like we said before, it's like your material body dies and you as a self-awareness pass into your psychonoetical body and live in the certain psychical planes for a time. And that time is meant for you to kind of recoup and calm down from your previous lifetime and start to ascend higher. And every time we go to another plane, the psychic plane, the noetical plane, we feel closer to our inner self. We feel more like the inner self. So we have, it's the same lifetime. It's just lived in higher planes of existence. But then after time comes, you, like I said, discard the psychical body and dwell as a self-awareness solely in the noetical body after a time. And this is usually not super long in the noetical plane. You return to the noetic state. Now you could say it's your spirit body, but it's not a body form like you think of. But anyway, that's where you return to. And then the soul again projects out a new array for its incarnation. And on that ray gets impressed from the permanent atom all the things you've learned and haven't learned from previous lifetimes. So that comes with you as talents, predispositions, and tendencies. And do you have something?
Of course,
Okay.
yes. After death, after material body's death, he explained it. But we don't need to have a material body's death. Well, every day, when we sleep, during a certain period of a deep state of sleeping, what we call sleeping, we reach that state and go back to our material body by recomposing our psychonoetical body and enter back into our material body and wake up in the morning. So every day we reach that state.
In fact, during our sleep time, about 20% of the time we're sleeping, we're in that noetic state. Now, I see some chats here. They're at Roger Smith from Cincinnati, Ohio, is asking about being aware of giving energy to other people. And
I can't read it.
okay, I'll read
So,
it. Is it needful to be aware of giving energy to another soul? I've been told by many psychics that I am radiating energies to everyone all around me. All of us are doing that. It's just, what level of energy are we radiating? And it's good to be aware of it. Sure, you should be aware of it because that's making you more self-aware, more conscious of what you're really doing, what's really going on in this thing. He also says, I'm willing to give compassion, but it's nature to me. It's natural to me, maybe means. Okay. Yeah, that's great. And you should feel that. You should feel that energy going into the person. And when you do, bless them. It's an opportunity to really give something to the person checking you out at the grocery store or at the gas station, whatever. It's just a way for us to make this work much more conscious.
Since I can't read it, can you summarize if you continue?
Is it important to be aware of giving energies to other people?
Important to give the
To be
energy?
aware of giving energy to other people.
Give
Is it important to be aware when we give energies to other people?
Yes. Oh, yes.
You have something to say?
Because I can't read it.
I know, I just told you.
Yes. So maybe, yes. And we have.
The next chat says, are there specific exercises? I guess this is Christine. We can do each day, night to send powerful, helpful elementals to areas in need, like Ukraine and Austria. Yes. And then somebody else is mentioning this exercise I'm about to tell you. Daskalos advised doing this. It's in the Esoteric Practice book. I think it's in Swimming with the Whale too. But basically, and it's not just his, there's a lot of people working for the light to participate this. And that is at 9 p.m. your local time. Visualize the earth being flooded in radiant, brilliant, whitish pink light. It's a calming, it's a loving energy. So it helps when everybody starts to pray in unison. And visualization is a very powerful way to pray, because you're not only praying what you want, but you see what you want, and that gives it real power. So at 9 p.m. at night, everybody in their own time zone takes some time, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, and prays for peace in the world, but visualize it too. Visualize this pink light going around the world. Visualize people dropping their weapons. Visualizing opposing parties hugging each other. And this will spread across the planet at 9 p.m. everybody's time until it completely surrounds the planet. It's a very, very powerful thing to do. And I'm going to tell you one story that I was involved in, that I heard about with Daskalos, that proves this point. Now, Cyprus was a British colony until they threw the Brits out and made a Czech Cyprus Republic. But it was governed by both Turkish and Christians. And the Turks were just not too far on the north side of the island where Turkey is. And one day, I don't know, some politic thing didn't go right, and Turkey got pissed off and said, okay, that's it, we're coming in. So they came in and just started killing and chasing the Greek Christians down south on the island. And they chased them and chased them and chased them. And they wanted to get rid of them completely. But the UN came in Nicosia, which is where Daskalos lived, and put a green line right down the middle of it. Now, there was some conflict at Green Lines. I went there were car bomb explosions. You could see bullet holes and all that kind of stuff. And there were guards on the Turkish side and guards on the Greek side, and the UN soldiers trying to keep them apart. And there were a lot of stuff going on. There was a lot of discord between the two. And there were forces in the government that wants this conflict. And I don't want to say the Greek government, but they wanted this conflict. And so Daskalos and his innermost circle guys, now it's like 6 of these guys, right? They just did nothing but this prayer. They just kept praying that they would see the Muslims come in and the Christians come in into the Green Line and embrace each other as brothers. They visualized it for a long time. Then one day, there was announced there was going to be a meeting between the Christians and the Muslims in this green area. And so all the reporters went there, and this is basically kind of a replay of what happened in Beirut before this, which is not that far away. So the reporters went there. They were so excited to see what was going to happen because they expected bloodshed, And these guys go together, and they did exactly as these guys were praying and visualized. They hugged each other, thought each other's brothers, respected each other. And the reporters were so disappointed because they didn't really have much of a story. So this really, really works. And through this method, Daskalos and these same guys had a great effect on bringing down the Berlin Wall. So these things are really, really effective. And if just enough light workers would pray and pray this prayer, it would have a powerful effect on these regions.
Do you want to say more?
No.
Okay. Yes. Do you know why we visualize or we work on exercise to visualization? When we pass on or move on to the other dimension, psychoanalytical world, when we think or see something, it immediately manifests in the other dimension. So please trust that the power of visualization. In the next dimension, it manifests immediately. So let's try to manifest it in this dimension. But we have the law of this dimension, very strong law of this world. But let's try to manifest whatever we visualize, have courage to do it. I created a meditation in Patreon called Sakura. That's that is the love and peace meditation for entire planet. So if you like, let's try it. So please try it too.
Good.
Okay. I think.
That's it.
Okay.
Sorry, we went kind of long again today. We had so many questions, but thank you for all your good questions.
Yes, and we will definitely answer to your question. We have more questions, right?
No, we answered.
That's all of them?
That's all of them.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you for many good questions. We love to answer.
Thanks for coming. See you next
Thank
time.
you very much, and have a beautiful days.